You're joining us for a big milestone day on the E30 build today, because today this M52 B28 engine and its gearbox are moving into their new home inside the E30's engine bay. The muscle has arrived to help us with the heavy lifting. To add to that, with the removable front core support mod that I did in the past, I have a good optimistic feeling that this engine and gearbox are going to go into this engine bay smoothly, hopefully easier than the M40 came out. In the last video you'll have seen me bolting up the M20 clutch and flywheel to the motor and also bolting up this Getrag 240 gearbox onto it, which I'm very happy with. There's a couple of small things that need rounding off before I can actually go ahead and try and hoist this engine into the bay. For starters, I need to work out the engine arm situation and I need to show you which engine mounts I'm going to be using. But once the engine's not in, it'd be a great opportunity to stick that starter motor in, which should be 2 bolts, stick the clutch slave cylinder on, which is a pig to get to when the gearbox is installed, so we can get that out of the way, and anything else I can come up with to procrastinate on actually taking the plunge and trying to put this engine in, but hopefully not too much. So let's start with that clutch slave cylinder and get that on now. So here's the clutch slave cylinder, and it's actually quite a new one. It's probably only done 100 or 200 miles because it was one of the really early things that failed when the car was driving around as a 316, so I chucked a new one on. So now I've treated it to a new braided line. This is a Wezmoto line that matches the brake lines I'm using as well. Been very happy with them. The quality is excellent. It's equal to Hell or Goodrich, but they're a lot better value. I'll link to this in the description. Let's stick this line on now and hopefully I can tighten it down at the right orientation, and that will save me a lot of fiddling around under the car later. Now let's chuck this starter motor on. This is actually a very good condition used one, which I'm going to throw on from an M20, but I think these starter motors generally are the same. This one looks more or less identical to the one that came off this 316i, but this one is just in much better condition. Let's get it on. It's an E12 torx socket and a 16mm spanner. Three Ugga Duggas is the torx spec. Right, so with the starter on, let's talk about engine arms. So these are the 2 engine arms needed to mount the M52 in an E30's engine bay, and by good luck it's the same ones that an E36 came with, so they're original to this M52 engine. They go like that. This one goes on the exhaust side and this one on the inlet side. We'll do the inlet side one first. going at 22 Newton meters or 16 foot-pound, which doesn't sound like a lot, but bear in mind this is an aluminium block, you don't want to pull the threads out. With the engine arms on, we can start talking about engine mounts, and this is a particular point of interest when you are M50 or M52 swapping an E30. What I believe this is an E28 engine mount, which many use to mount an M50 engine into an E30. I actually got these free with some other bits and they're looking a little bit worse for wear. Now, the trouble with these is they're not quite the right angle between the engine arms and the subframe mounts on an E30. So if you're going to use this, you're probably going to end up with them wearing prematurely. Also, they're quite short, which puts the engine very low in the bay, which exacerbates the problem with the sump pit and speed humps. Not that I'm going to have that problem now with my custom sump. Other than this, I'm not aware of any other off-the-shelf OEM BMW part that you can use here, which is a shame because it would have been very cost effective to do so. So what I've done is I've sourced some alternative engine mounts that I think are going to be much, much better than this. Let's go to the bench, I'll show you what I've got. This is what I've got imported from the US across the pond. These mounts are from a company called Condor Speed Shop. Nice beer cozy. They are polyurethane mounts that have been designed to be very specifically the right size and shape for M50, M52 engine swaps. Quality looks fantastic. They're quite solid, which is probably a good thing in this case, because obviously the engine's a bit bigger than an engine that would have been in an E30, and you want it to not be swaying around too much during hard cornering, so this should keep it nice and rock solid. It even included some installation instructions which are handy. We'll follow those, but I'll have to bear in mind that driver's side and passenger side's flipped on my car because it's right-hand drive. Before I loosely hang these engine mounts from the engine arms as per instructions, I'm just going to mock them up into the engine bay just to make sure they do fit as I expect with the subframe. You'll notice that this E30 front subframe is actually reinforced with a plate kit, and that included where the engine mounts sit, which raises the engine mounts up very slightly. Again, potentially a good thing for an M50 or an M52 swap. Right, I think we're just about getting to the main event, which is getting that engine and gearbox into this engine bay. As you can probably tell, I'm quite excited. So what we need to do now is shuffle the room around a bit so that we've got a reasonably straight shot with the engine crane into this engine bay. Once I've got the car where I want it, I'm going to take my front core support off and then let the games begin. Right, here's where that removable front core support earns its crust.
the dog can see the rabbit. The effort of doing that front thing was really a good idea. This makes it look laughably easy. I'm sure we'll find some sort of a problem.
We will now you've said that. Well,
another 6 inches. That'll do.
okay.
Going down. I can't see on that side.
Yeah.
You need to watch that.
Yeah, it's quite wide there, aren't they? Right, let's go down a little bit, see what happens.
It's okay on this side.
It looks like it's catching on that mount. On your side.
No, it should be fine.
You got it?
Yeah. Let's stop now and go in.
Forward?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know what's
can't
touching
see
over
around
there.
there.
It's not touching over there.
Pull the cable. Should be right. As long as it goes that way, it'll be
A bit
fine.
further in. Oh!
Ooh, what was that?
I think it's touching onto the subframe, but I think we'll be okay now.
No, it's nowhere near the subframe.
Is it? I don't know.
I think this mount just caught on here. No big deal. Right, going forward a bit more.
Yeah.
Caught on the transmission tunnel though. Slightly.
Let's just see.
Not happy with how this is steering right now. Going down a bit more.
Okay. Just have a quick look from here. Oh, there's plenty of room. If you can go down another 2 or 3 inches and then I think we'll be fine.
God. I hate the way it does that.
Let's stop. Go forward. Right, stop.
What are we hitting?
Well, I think what we need to do is push the gearbox up a little bit, and I think we're in place now.
Push the gearbox up.
Well, this
that
is
one.
virtually there, and that
We
one's
need
virtually
to
there.
rotate, we need to lift
We
this
touch
side really.
the-
Yeah, you're not going to do
Okay.
much about that.
So the gearbox is going to have to come up.
Down.
Up, so you can tilt it that way. When it tilts down like that,
Yeah.
these arms will go forward and it'll be right over where
Oh,
they
I
should
see.
be.
Okay. Right, just going to put some upwards pressure on the gearbox to try and bring the front of the engine down slightly and align the mounts with the subframe holes. If I had a load leveler along with this lift, now's the time where it would have been very useful. But hey ho, we've got what we've got. We've got a jack. Well,
Touch a bit more,
oh yeah.
bit more. If you can.
I'm hitting somewhere.
Right, well, this
I think
one
I
is
pressed the,
virtually, this one's virtually there.
Yeah, press the gearbox at the transmission tunnel.
Okay. And this one is, you know, literally you just need to perhaps raise it slightly, finagle them in, lower it down.
Oh yeah, that's close. Bloody close. Right. So if I go up just a smidge. Yeah?
Then that's it, then waggle that end in. So when you do that, this one's
Like that one's in the hole, but only just.
right. So now we need to just literally lower it, and that's nudger.
going down. That's got it. Right, let's put those nuts on the underside of those mounts. Right, so that's the Condor engine mounts in and torqued up. It was actually a very low torque setting, which is surprising considering how substantial the bolts are. It was 13 Newton meters or 10 feet-pound. I guess it's because the heads of the bolts are actually captive in the nylon, polyurethane, whatever material it is. They're captive in that rather than into metal. So they actually don't need to be tightened up to FT. Now the next thing to do is to fit the gearbox support underneath the car in the middle. And once that's done, we can release the crane and admire our work. Too far. So effectively the job of fitting this engine and gearbox is done. It's all bolted up, the gearbox support's in place as well. So the next thing to do is to take off this hoist, relieve all the tension on the engine, just do some final checks, make sure it's not going anywhere. Then I can put the front core support back on and put the car back on its feet, and then we can celebrate.
Right, shall I get these straps off? You need to let the tension off a bit more. Yeah, good plan. That should do it.
There we go, hoist doing nothing now.
Considering these are simple 12 inches, they work really well, don't they?
Yeah, I trusted them with my life.
I wouldn't trust you with that hook.
It's in. And just like that, this is now a 24 valve swapped E30, and I'm absolutely over the moon. Obviously there's still a whole world of work ahead of us to finish this job. There's no exhaust, there's no intake, I can't shift gears at the moment, there's not even a prop shaft, but I'm feeling confident that we're going to solve all those things bit by bit as we go. Fitting this engine today with the old man has been an absolute breeze compared to taking that M40 engine out, but I think the hard work really was done way before today, and it's included the removable front core support and the stripping out of everything and the getting everything clean so you're not just getting absolutely filthy every time you touch anything. So it's actually been a pleasure to do. And I'm also really happy with the Condor Speed Shop mounts, and I'm glad I made the decision to import them from the US. I think they look fantastic. We'll see how they stand up to the test of time. But if you've enjoyed this video, please do make sure you leave us a like and make sure you subscribe so you can see how it goes with the rest of the things I need to figure out on this engine swap and the rest of the car, of course. But anyway, thank you very much for watching.